This video is sponsored by Miniswap. Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. I want to talk about a little unit that dropped for the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines were really struggling in 40k, so they definitely needed some massive buffs. And they have a new unit in the Liqerise Honor Guard. And it is kinda busted Space Marines wide open. These guys are really strong. Now, it's kind of a meme in 40k that new model comes out and the new model is just broken. It's actually pretty darn rare. I think all this year, all of the miniatures that have come out for Warhammer 40,000, most of them have been fine to bad. Oh, there was a Space Wolf unit, the Space Wolf Battle Leader, that people would bring 3 of, but it's like a 65-point combat character. It doesn't break the game. The Liqerise are very disgustingly strong. And to some extent, I don't mind it because in their lore, they are supposed to be the best of the best of the best of the best Space Marines. They are the handpicked bodyguards of the Primarch Rabute Guilliman. And so it does make sense that they are very good. However, they are very good. There's already been a bunch of big tournament lists that are running 3 big bricks of these brand spanking new miniatures, and that is a lot to add to the pile of shame. But if any of you guys are ready to tackle your pile of shame, or you're a glutton for punishment and you want to add to it, then you can check out today's sponsor, Miniswap, an all-new marketplace dedicated to buying and selling the miniatures that you need. With Miniswap, everything is bought and sold at a fair price so you can get the best bang for your buck, with easy listing, low seller fees, and prepaid shipping labels. They've got a growing catalog of every Games Workshop miniature ever made, and are working to expand into other miniature games as well. Looking to pick up that rare mini you can't find on shelves anymore? Then look no further. Miniswap is always adding new features like lot listing. Tired of that army you shouldn't have bought sitting on the shelf collecting dust? Turn it into cash by putting the whole army up for sale at once. Having trouble finding that exact miniature you want like on other market sites? Their advanced search function lets you find exactly what you're looking for with new options coming out all the time. Right now today is the last chance to get their Cyber Monday special offers. Get free shipping on your purchases, don't miss out. If you get registered today, you'll get emails letting you know about all the special offers that are upcoming. I'm very excited to see a site like this built by dedicated hobbyists who know the ins and outs of buying used miniatures. Y'all know I'm a big fan of taking a previously loved mini and giving it its 3rd coat of paint. Click the link in the description to make an account and get mini swappin' today. But speaking of swappin', I kinda wish that the Liqerise Honor Guard could be swapped out for my Sword Bros because they are better in every way. Now, to be fair, the Liqerise Honor Guard are a very special, unique thing where my Sword Brethren are basically just Vanguard veterans, and my guys are still pretty good because a stat line in 40k can only get so good. But the Liqerise Honor Guard have some subtle changes that just make them into the best possible Space Marines. They come in at a normal toughness 4, saves on a 2-up, which is very interesting because they don't seem to have iron halos on their actual miniatures, but I guess they have artificer armor, and so that confers a 2-up armor save. Wounds 4! These bad boys have 4 wounds. That is a really big deal because it means it's gonna take 2 damage, two damage attacks getting through to actually bring one of these suckers down. And if I'm doing 3 damage, like if I'm using Helbrecht with his damage 3 profile sweep or strike profile, then that means that that second attack that is going through with 3 damage is actually getting wasted because it's just taking that last 1 wound off of a guy. That is remarkably powerful. Other than that, getting into these guys' profile, they have the Blades of Honor, which are 6 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 5, AP -2, damage 2 with precision and twin linked. One of the guys in the squad has that weapon, and then everybody else has mastercrafted power weapons, which are the same as the Black Templar mastercrafted power weapons, but with 5 attacks instead of 3. Oh, and they don't get lethal hits, which the Black Templars do get. So we are better in that little way, but we get 2 less attacks. But speaking of less attacks, these guys can be taken in a squad of 3 or upgraded to a squad of 6. 3 of these guys cost 130 points and 6 of these guys cost 210, which kind of puts them right in line with a lot of other like elite Space Marine units. But the abilities, is where these guys get nuts, because Space Marines have very good close combat units. We have like Blade Guard Veteran, Sword Brethren for the Black Templars, there's the Space Wolf Stabby Boys, there's the Inner Circle Companions. Like, there's a lot of really, really powerful melee units. But the special ability of the Victrix Honor Guard, when they are being led by a character, and they're gonna be led by a character, they get -1 to wound. I don't know, there's another unit floating out that has -1 to wound, but I can't think of it. It's very, very rare because it's very, very good. Usually you want a little help on the hits, but then the wounds. If you can have any like +1 to wound or reroll wound rolls of 1, that is a remarkable ability. And then these guys just off the rip are -1 to be wounded with their 2 up save and their 4 wounds, and the ability to do Armor of Contempt to make them even tankier. Like, there is some real nastiness going on. And then their second ability is a surge move. It is the same surge move that Khorne Berserkers gets, and I think the same surge move that my Black Templar Crusader squads now get. If this unit gets shot at and a model dies, then that unit can roll a d6 and make a move of that many inches that can take them into close combat. And so they can get shot, a guy dies, and then they can try to surge into close combat. That is a really, really spicy ability because it actually boosts survivability a lot. If the Victrix get caught out in the open, you kind of got one shot to shoot at them and to do as much damage as you possibly can, because then they'll be able to hopefully, if they've moved and positioned their unit correctly, they'll hopefully be able to get into close combat with something in my army and essentially lock me out of getting to shoot at this squad again for that turn. A really, really powerful ability, but this stacks so nicely with some other Ultramarines characters. The old Cato Sicarius, not to be confused with the new Cato Sicarius, which I think is called Sergeant Sicarius or Captain Sicarius. But the old Cato Sicarius is 85 points, and he has an ability where if something moves within 9 inches of the squad that he's attached to, then that squad can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. That just super amplifies the movement shenanigans of this squad. For only 85 points, now all of a sudden they have 2 different out of action or out of turn movement abilities. Maybe something scooches close and so then they jump behind a building. Oh, and also Cato Sicarius, he can grant free Heroic Intervention. Heroic Intervention is a really good stratagem that I don't use nearly enough, but after your opponent has charged, you can select a unit and then make a charge as if it was your charge phase. And so all of a sudden, now they have 3 reactive movement abilities on tap, whatever they need to do. Whether they need to get out of the way, they need to get out of dodge, or they need to get into combat with the opponent, they have the opportunity to do it. So even like best case scenario, you catch them with like a gladiator executioner and you're just dumping shots into them to try to whittle them down as much as you possibly can before they're able to just get into close combat where they love to be and absolutely wreck. Now, Cato Sicarius is a really, really nice include because he's only 85 points. He brings the squad up to 295 points. For 295, that's not really that expensive for what you're buying. But if you just want to go off the deep end, you can attach Marneus Calgar for 200 points. Marneus Calgar is an absolute beast, and he actually comes, if you take old Marneus Calgar, he actually comes with 2 more Victrix Honor Guard. So that's 6 + 2 + Calgar. That is a big brick of very scary Space Marines, but it's actually not huge. It's not impossible to get that places. Like this, the level of damage output of this squad is very comparable to like Ghazghkull Thraka and a big squad of 10 knobs, and that will also kill anything in the game. But it's really hard to get Ghazi and a bunch of big knobs places. Where the Victrix Honor Guard, with Calgar himself, it's not, you can be sneaky and you can get behind ruins and get behind buildings, and it won't be impossible. This is a brutal, brutal squad. However, I kind of think it's a little bit busted right now, but I don't think that it needs to be changed that dramatically. I think it's okay for it to be really big and really scary. I think just a couple of easy changes One of them Games Workshop probably won't do, and one of them Games Workshop definitely will do. I think because they're the Vicatrix Honor Guard, the handpicked bodyguards of Guilliman himself, I think that they should be limit 1 per army. My Emperor's Champions are limit 1 per army, and that's perfectly fine and reasonable. It goes along with the lore. There is only ever 1 Emperor's Champion at a time, and so I can't take 3 Emperor's Champion, even though I absolutely would. The Vicatrix Honor Guard should probably be limited to 1 per army. 1 big monster squad for 400 points in an army is strong, but it's definitely dealable. Like, if you put together a 400 point unit in almost any army, it's gonna be an absolutely monstrous unit. So I think that limit 1 would probably be more fair than bringing 18 of these things to a game. That's probably what Games Workshop won't do. What they definitely will do is change the points, because right now, 3 of them cost 130 points, but if you max it out to 6 per squad, it's only costing 210 points. You're saving 50 points if you upgrade it to a max squad. Typically, Games Workshop even will preemptively make sure that the bigger squad is more expensive than the min squad. And this is just because things like stratagems, enhancements, and special abilities become so much more efficient the more models you can put them on. And so it just makes more sense that a big squad is more powerful, so it costs more points. Where these guys, you save tons of points by giving yourself the last 3 guys. I think Games Workshop was probably thinking that you get the champion and you get the banner guy in a 3-man squad, and so you're upgrading it to 6, but the 3 extra guys are just normal, really good Vicatrix. They're not one of the special ones, and so that's why the max squad is cheaper. And I think that that's reasonable in concept, but in execution, in actual data, they're so good. The max squad should be like 260 points. I think that would be more than fair, and it would go right along with my Sword Brethren, because I think a 10-man squad is 260 points, because I think a 5-man is 130. Very similar. The Space Marine datasheet can only get pushed and like stretched and pulled so much, because then it just stops being a Space Marine. These guys are nasty, and I am a little bit jealous that the Ultramarines get all of these really interesting things. When the Black Templar Codex came out, we got the new Ancient, and we got that chaplain-y stabby dude. And they're both fine. They're okay. They're nothing to write home about, especially the banner guy. He adds an extra power sword to the squad, but it's not super worth it. And of course, he bumps up the objective control, which can be useful, but on a 5-man Space Marine squad that does not have nearly the survivability of the Vicatrix Honor Guard. And I don't think we even get access to Armor of Contempt, because our detachments are a little bit different. But to be fair, we actually probably do get access to Armor of Contempt, because the best Space Marine datasheet is the Gladius Task Force. It is by far the best one. It makes shooting so much better, it makes fighting so much better, and like a lot of detachments are built around either shooting or fighting, but Gladius is just the best of both worlds. And it has some bananas stratagems that pair really nicely with the Vicatrix Honor Guard. For 2 CP, it's a little tricky to spend a 2 CP stratagem, but you can just have Fight on Death. A lot of detachments have a Fight on Death stratagem. My Necrons in Awakened Dynasty, we have a Fight on Death, but it's on a 4-up, so 50-50 chance if one of my models dies, it gets to fight before it's removed from the table. Space Marines for 2 CP, they just get to do it. And I feel like that's fair because it's 2 command points, but it's still, that's really good. It's kind of a weird inversion of fights first. You're fighting last, but you're guaranteed to fight. And 5 attacks, hitting on 2 strength 5, AP minus 2, damage 2. That is some real nastiness. And then when you're fighting back, you're -1 to wound, so chances are your attacks are turning into 4s to wound, and then it goes to their 2-up save. Like there's some real, these guys, I kind of want to go up against them because man, do they seem like a really tough nut to crack. And then even if you crack them, they're less than 25% of the enemy army. So it's a victory if you take down the Vicatrix, but it's not, you didn't win the game by destroying that squad. Maybe if you could somehow do a turn 1. What is the most effective way to kill these guys? if you can get like a really, really powerful melee monster in combat with them, you definitely have a shot at killing them, but you might be trading your really, really cool thing into their really, really cool thing. In terms of shooting, boy, oh boy, it is going to be hard to shoot these guys to death. And their reactive movement shenanigans are gonna mean that you really only get one chance to shoot them. If you can get a demolisher cannon or just a really, really nice like damage 3, is there anything with damage 4? I think the demolisher cannon has D6 damage, so you could get lucky and roll some 4s and just start dropping these guys. They're definitely Space Marines. Even with Space Marines with every single buff in the game, it is still very possible to kill a Space Marine. But man, these guys are wicked. Oh, Ultramarines, the blue Space Marines. The blueberries with Cato Sicarius is one of the most powerful things in the Space Marine anywhere. It's like Games Workshop really likes the box art of the Space Marines, but I think that some of the Divergent chapters were kind of hurting a little bit. The Black Templars, the detachments that came out in our codex they're kind of just fine. Nothing has ever hit quite as hard as the Gladius Task Force. Original Righteous Crusaders was not bad, but the one that is printed in the codex is a little bit less powerful. And then we have we have 3 detachments. One of them is built around taking the Ancient that's not very good. One of them is built around taking the Chaplain who's not very good. And one of them is built around taking the Land Raider, which is not very good. And so that leads to the detachments being a little bit lackluster. And Gladius Task Force is just a little bit better. And then there's also Outrider, the Outrider detachment. That's the White Scar themed detachment, which is just also free advance and charge, which is incredibly, incredibly powerful. I think Marnius Calgar also grants advance and charge on the Vicatrix, which is a really, that's another movement shenanigan. They could do anything. They can move anywhere. They can do whatever they want. They're movie Marines. Games Workshop has finally made movie Marines a real thing. These guys hit as hard as Captain Titus in Space Marine 2, and he's the same color as Captain Titus from Space Marine 2. These guys are wicked. It'll be really interesting to see what Games Workshop decides to do with these guys. I think we're closing in on another balanced data slate, but these might be too new to end up in that balanced data slate. They could also just get a stealth nerf, which has happened many times over the course of this edition. But I actually don't think that they're completely busted. I think either limiting them to 1 per army or just bumping the points up to 260 like they should be. They're way good enough to be that expensive in-game. If my sword brethren, which can be equipped with chain swords, can be 260 points, then these suckers can definitely cost at least that much. My righteous indignation of the Vicatrix Honor Guard knows no limits, but you know what else knows no limits? EonsOfBattle.com. On EonsOfBattle.com, we have all kinds of hobby goodies: army painter paints, brushes, texture pastes, wet palettes, basing cork, decals, toppers, and bits, and we have terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit good for any one terrain pack we have ever made or the brand new one. Our new terrain for December, the Bubble City. Embrace your inner amphibian with this alien encampment. A truly unique series of aquatic structures like the Bubble House, Bubble Command Center, and Bubble Fortress. And it's not just buildings, it also has some powerful defenses in the turret and shield walls. Get ready to get immersed in some underwater goodness, perfect for all the popular wargames. So the Vicatrix Honor Guard are a little bit hot right now, but honestly, I kind of think that might be fine. It does hurt the competitive scene because if you're playing competitive 40k, you really do have to list tailor and juice your army as much as you possibly can because you do want to perform as well as you possibly can. But to me personally, I do think it's kind of fun when things are a little cracked, especially when Games Workshop has been doing a pretty good job of balancing over the course of the edition. I'm fine with these guys being a little nuts. I hope I get some games in with them at their silly profiles or their silly points cost, because it does make the game a little bit more fun when there's a little bit of nonsense going on. I mean, thinking back to 6th edition and 7th edition and 8th edition, a little bit less with 8th edition, but certainly 6th and 7th. things would sometimes be nuts, and it would be an uphill battle, and you would know that you're the underdog, but it just makes the game that much more narrative, that much more exciting, that you're up against it, and the odds are not in your favor, but that kind of goes along with all of the lore of 40k. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and humanity is beset on all sides by the alien, the heretic, and the Xenos. I think I said alien twice, but I didn't get the quote quite right, but it is like you are definitely on the back foot, fighting for your life in this war that will never end and you never ever will win. I think things being a little extra powerful, a little extra juiced, can be kind of fun. We'll always remember late 10th edition, the Vicatrix Honor Guard were a problem. And it'll be something to giggle about thinking back when we're all playing 64th edition in a couple of years. Thanks for watching.